Welcome to Between Escrows. I am Amy Scruggs, and I'm here with my amazing fellow host, Roger Savvy, the ambassador of optimism. I am a media coach and branding coach, and we are here again to bring you incredible information that hopefully can make a difference, not only in your business, but in your life. Today's topic, the drum roll, please, Roger, the era of the order taking agent is over. Today's market for loan officers and real estate agents, especially, and any industry, we're not order takers. And we're going to talk about that today on what it really looks like to be engaged and completely immersed in the entire experience for our clients. Roger, I'm going to hand this over to you because this is your expertise, and I am just going to be a bobbing head for a minute. What do you think about this topic when you saw this was what we were doing today?
Hey, Amy, good to see you again. And what a great topic. Yes, you're right. I think the days of order taking is over. In fact, I know it is. The whole concept of the ego era has now moved to the generosity generation, the contribution, ABC being always contributing rather than always be closing, which was what the order taker was doing. Just close, 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 all lined up. No, today, transactions are way more thoughtful and it requires contribution. So I'm going to paint the picture for you. Amy, do you remember when you were at college? Because I certainly do. I'd walk into, especially English 1, where everyone was forced to do 1 year of English at least. And you'd walk in, there's hundreds of people in the lecture theater, and the professor walks in, walks up to the lectern, opens up his portfolio and just starts to lecture. And he will just talk, or she will just talk for 1 hour, because she didn't or he didn't care whether you listened or not.
Right.
He or she was paid to deliver the message, didn't care whether you took notes, whether you understood, and after an hour, close and walk out. I remember sitting there as well as a student. I was besotted with a gal who was sitting 2 rows in front of me, and I was desperate for her attention, and she just was loser, wouldn't look at me. But that was what was happening, and everyone was doing their own thing. Contrast that, Amy, the professor at a college, to your primary care physician. You go there, you get put in the room, you get triaged by the nurse. He or she leaves you alone, and you're sitting there waiting for the primary care physician. You can hear them talking to the client through the little thin walls. And once you stop looking through his or her cupboards to what they've got,
Why do we do
you're
that?
waiting. Yeah. And you hear a shuffle at the front door. You hear shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And you know the physician is looking at your charts outside. And he walks in, or she walks in with the biggest smile on their face. Roger, so good to see you. What brings you in here today? And sits down and he says, do you mind if I record this conversation so I can remember it and make sure I've captured everything? Of course, doctor. Roger, facing me, knees pointing towards me, looking at me, full body listening. He says, Roger, what brings you in today? And I start to talk, and I see him or her making notes, making notes. Roger, tell me about your parents. Did your dad have that at this as well? Take notes, take notes. All I've got is 10 minutes. But when I leave, I feel so bonded to my primary care physician. So let's, as lenders and realtors, ask yourself this question. Do you go out every day as a professor of lending, or do you go out as a primary care physician in lending? Because there's a huge difference in the way you are heard. There's a huge difference in the way people feel about you, because science and data make you think, feelings make you act. So the order taker never worries about your feelings, but in the always be contributing, the generosity generation, it's how you make people feel. So there is your first mindset of the day. When you
That's it.
wake up.
Show's over. That was it right there.
Isn't
Goodbye,
it great?
everybody. Great to have you.
That's right.
That's the
When you're going up,
truth.
it's about conversations, asking great questions. You are a primary care physician. And if you don't want to call it sales, call it in influencing, in leading, in shaping the way people think and feel. And that comes through you being interested in the other person and asking questions upon whatever they give you as an answer.
Yes.
Ask a question about that thing, right?
I always say empowering homeownership, mentoring
Yeah.
homeowners.
Yeah. I go with many of my realtors to listings and I ask them, just ignore me. I'm sitting in the corner and I watch. And I've taken my mentees to my very successful realtors. I've watched them go in and say, yes, I want to tour the house. Yes, I want to do all these things, but can we just sit for a second? Something has changed in your life. Why am I here? Tell me why I'm here. And then go 7 or 8 levels deep as to why we are sitting there. Suddenly, the waiting to pounce with the listing
Mhm.
presentation goes away. All of those things evaporate as the sellers just unload and tell you. It's exactly the same when it comes to lending. It's exactly the same way. When a borrower wants to come in and ask about facilitating a loan or a mortgage, say, why, what difference would this make to your life? Please tell me why, and go and find that why. This is when you become the primary care physician.
Yes.
How do you feel about that concept? Because that is, I do believe, a fundamental difference from those who think they are salespeople to those that make a career out of believing they are in their own business, they're entrepreneurs, and therefore goodness will flow to them if they have the right focus.
Yes. And then they're obtaining more knowledge even for themselves and their own experience because they're listening more to those clients, to what's going on in that neighborhood, maybe what's gone on with the property, with, multiple areas that they could be catching information by really listening and by really engaging versus just, okay, I can see this is 2,400 square feet and it's this and I have this lot. All right, I know what I need to know. There's so much more information. They're probably going to share about what those school districts are like, the experience their children have, if it's somebody downsizing, what the neighborhood is like during the holidays, and what the community is like, and the shopping is like in the area. Learning about their life in that home, not just the home. And I think that the transactionary part of handling the financing and the fiduciary responsibility, and also for the agent of the property itself, we forget that these are people's lives.
Yep, that's
If their
exactly right.
financials are proving that there was lives, there were choices, there were great choices, there were painful times. Maybe they dealt with a sick, loved one, that's the reason that their income went down during that time and then it went back up. There's stories and lives behind each one of these components.
Stories and lives behind each and every one of them. And so when you come in with your contribution attitude, that primary care physician, and you find out about their feelings, the context, where they are in space and time, sometimes you can hear the fear. You can hear the fear. And I've realized, don't ignore it. Hear it and say, I'll come back to that, but I'd love to find out what you would like to achieve the next couple of years, always taking their brain to a happy place
Mhm.
so that the calmness comes in, the anxiety goes down, because
Mhm.
now we're in a happier place to come back and say, let's deal with some of these barriers now that you're worried
Yes.
about, because you understand where they want to go. Suddenly, when you leave, they feel like they've just been to see a solutionist, like their primary care physician.
Yes.
Clearly, we know our jobs. We know how to do loans. We know how to help with real estate. We've got that knowledge. Now it's about putting that emotional side
Mhm.
and bonding with them, because that's
Yes.
how the trust grows. Otherwise, we're just a commodity. We don't want to be a commodity. There is nothing worse in this world than being ignored
No one wants that.
despite your best. But that's what happens when you come across as professorial, right? Thinking you know it all, not giving them a chance to speak. No, no, no. When you ask questions and you love on them like a primary care physician, you become, as Seth Godin said, the purple cow. You get noticed.
Yes.
Suddenly your words mean something because of the context you have created, right?
Yes. An example, and I don't want to name drop another business, but when I go to Trader Joe's, I have to say every time the staff there is like, "How are you today? How's your day been going? What are you up to next? Oh, did you find everything you need?" All of them are so engaging and genuine. Like they purposely hire individuals that are happy to be there and want to engage with you. And different than the time that I was at a competing grocery store and I accidentally dropped the blueberries and they were mean. Like the guy was mean to me. And
Yeah.
I haven't been back since, even though he was probably just having a bad day. But as a consumer, even just buying my blueberries, I am much happier when I know that I'm going somewhere, that I'm going to be greeted, and that they're going to engage and then have a genuine care that I have the right product and had a good experience.
It's funny you use that trade name, which I have many of those in Petaluma as well, where I live. There's a Whole Foods here. There's the Petaluma Market. And sometimes the checkout has taken me forever to get there, and they can see I'm a little grumpy when I get there. And the manager says, "I'm so sorry you had to wait so long. By the way, these new little candies that Whole Foods has got is really, really nice. I want you to taste it," and drops it in the brown bag I'm carrying. He bought my loyalty for a 2-cent piece of candy,
Right?
took my brain to a different place, right?
Yes, because
He
it was
saw my
genuine.
irritation and didn't buy into it. He just led with positivity, right? It
Yes.
didn't mean it didn't exist that I waited, but it was all eclipsed. Amy, have you ever walked into a store and the front office person, him or she, is on the phone when you walk in? They see you walk in, you see they're on the phone, they immediately look away
Oh,
and they finish their
don't
conversation, then go, "Yes, how can I help you?"
don't get me started on that.
That is just so awful. You see, when you make eye contact, it signals intent. Had they made eye contact with me and
Like
went,
with a little grin, like
a little bit of grin,
I
"I'll only be
see.
5 minutes," they could take 15.
I'm happy you greeted me. You
You
made an
greeted me.
acknowledgement. I see you.
Yes.
You could do it with just eye movement and a cheek lift, and it says that.
Yes. Yep. You're absolutely right.
Oh,
You're absolutely right.
absolutely. And
Yep.
that should be trained. Anyone who is in a front-facing position for sales, whether you were at the Trader Joe's or like you described a store like that, if you know you're going to be dealing with people, there's a responsibility that comes with that. And yes, we know you're going to deal with difficult people, but there's a responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
And that is
Yes.
to do your best on your part. I can't control if somebody just stays grumpy because there was the line and no amount of candy was going to make them happy, but I can control what I do. And going back to this for the theme of what we're discussing today, I loved how you pointed out ask them where they're going, what they're trying to do. And I was thinking about also with the question of have there been obstacles before? Back to even your doctor experience. I was recently, I saw a new doctor and I was apprehensive to share because I'd had such a bad experience with the past doctor that I'm still a little timid. And I don't
Hmm.
feel, is this safe yet? And I think that with when it comes to, past home buying or selling, if it's your first loan or if you tried before and the last lender maybe wasn't telling you everything and they didn't approve you and there was no solutions as to why, there could be apprehension and maybe even seeing what have your past experiences been so that we can help navigate any of those kind of past traumas
Yeah.
with prior transactions. And I
Yes.
again that goes back to dealing with the whole person and their whole
The
experience.
whole experience. And of course, Amy, you're right. There are times, either as the realtor or as the lender talking to the seller or the borrower, despite you finding out everything about them, you can't get the math to work for whatever reason. Maybe their credit is wrong. Maybe debt to income ratio is off. Whatever it is,
Sure.
always give them something to hang on to. Uh,
Yes.
Something. Look, we can't do it right now, but here's what we can do 1 year from now.
Yes.
These are the things to do.
Yes.
Give them something to hold on to. You are still the solutionist, no matter
Yes.
whether it happens right away or into the future. But you would only know, they will only follow your suggestions, your diagnosis, if you will, your solution, if you will, if you have won their confidence. And
Yes.
that comes from not being the order taker, leaving the ego at the
Yes.
door with the shoes, right? That stays out there. And it's just about you and the people in front, their dreams,
Yes.
their goals, their intentions, their fears, their myth
Yes.
understandings. You are there, right? You're there. And so this comes then full circle. There's a whole bunch of people in your database /data bank
Yes.
that if they don't hear from you, they just think you're a professor who's gone on and don't need them. They don't think of you as the general practitioner, that warm
Right.
feeling, right?
Say, hey, we've got
So
some new programs. We have new medicine. We wanted to run this by you.
medicine, is your mortgage still the right one for you? Let's do a
Yes.
annual mortgage checkup for you.
Right.
If you're a realtor, I've got a loan originator. It's free of charge. They will call you and make sure you're benefiting from everything that the market is offering you.
Yes.
Let me know how your loan officer did, right? That kind of
Yes.
stuff. Or my loan officer did. So you mentioned it in a previous note to me. It's not about I'm working with a realtor or I'm working with a lender. I'm with that lender at the time of decision making, because a lender is a great part of the team, right?
It's a
So
game
whether you're a realtor,
changing.
you can talk up your lender. When you're a lender, you can talk up your realtor as this combined team here for you, because we understand what you want, because we bothered to ask you the questions,
Yes.
right?
And how many are actually going to some of these appointments together as a team?
What a
And
concept.
being that, and you did it, the fiduciary consultant. I loved it. You made a
Mm.
note that I wanted to make a point of, because the real estate agent can be such an empowering part at saying, yes, you know what, that is a great thing to listen to. Let's look at it from that, because the agent may be saying, well, we can do this or that, or we can ask for a price reduction, where maybe something where it's a rate buy down that's going to be more advantageous for that borrower, and working together for those solutions
Solutions.
is what can make it that prime experience, and it's no longer order taking. What are
It's
your
no
thoughts
longer.
on combining these two relationships that I've seen before? Is kind of like, well, we'll get to them later, or we'll show the house first, or just deal with your loan officer first, don't even talk to the agent. I would love to see that all of them are pairing up from the get-go with each client and showing a
Yes.
unified front.
Yes, that, and so much on a continuum in a time when there is so much uncertainty in the world at the moment. It's not as easy to predict the future anymore. The politics have changed. There's oil, there's fear, there's interest, there's dictators in the world, there's all sorts of things. There's wars going on. Those things are out of control, but the fear remains with borrowers and sellers. The world is unpredictable. And when fear shows its ugly head, people retreat, they freeze, fight or flight, they run away most of the time. When you can show a unified front, always be contributing, always talking to them about their goals, and slowly bring them out with trust.
Yes.
And 1 + 1 = 3. If you've got a lender and a realtor that are both like-minded and understand it's all about the client, it's all about the client, the output is greater than the sum of the parts. 1 + 1
100%.
= 3, right? And so it's a win-win for everybody.
Yes.
And using your lender well, if you're a realtor, sellers and buyers will have financial conversations with the lender that they will not have with the realtor.
Mhm.
They won't have. So the lender can bring another angle to the decision making, to the solutions that was not
Yes.
there before. So realtors, you're not alone. You're not alone. The lender would love to be part of your team and
Yes.
will step up, to
Yes.
step up and show. So that's an important combination that you brought up there. I'd like to extend that by reminding you that if you love on your data bank, right, the people that have entrusted you with their money before, bucket number one, those who speak you up, your advocates,
Mhm.
bucket number two, those, if they hear from you often, like a primary care physician, for all the reasons, you can go from relationships to referrals without ever having to speak to a stranger.
Right.
And those kinds of introductions are warmer. You get shopped less, and there's less objections, and those transactions tend to close on the real estate side, on the
Yes.
lending side.
Yes.
So knowing part of your day is always setting aside time to be a general practitioner with your data bank for those two buckets. That ensures your success. going forward, because these are people who know you, trust you, like you, and therefore will refer you.
Yes.
What are you doing every day to be referable? Hanging out with screen time is not as advantageous as FaceTime, right? FaceTime, less screen time, more trust. It's a
Yes.
simple arithmetic equation.
Yes.
Less screen plus more face equals trust. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I have a personal story that just hit home for this. I have adult children, and I won't. So I have one of my adult children that's in a different state than I am, and he and his young wife were ready. They were ready to buy, and so they went through this starting this process where they found a realtor and they found a loan professional, and these were areas that I don't have connections or people, so they were handling it on their own, and it was tragic because they were missing some components and they weren't getting explained their credit. They weren't getting explained what was really going on.
Mm.
The agent didn't care, just said, well, don't call me till you get this worked out. And he was trying to get, I was encouraging him, have them talk to each other, because I believe there's a solution here from what I'm looking at. I'm not in that right now. So they started doing that. It was so bad of trying to get the agent and this lender to communicate or share with them or educate them that they quit and they're leasing, and it was tragic. I
Yes.
really think there could have been a solution there, and they were just reaching obstacle, and it was out of the lack of that teamwork or them really being cared for and educated, not because they weren't ready for this step. And it was really a shame.
Mm.
It broke my heart coming from this industry for so many years. And I'm sure that there's examples of that all over. And it's just agents who maybe don't have the same mentorship, loan officers that maybe aren't with a team that encourage them how to use the techniques and how to prepare and plan and create a data bank that is ready to be used, and how to start those relationships. And that was when I watched that happen about a year ago. It was heartbreaking.
So many missed opportunities.
So many missed
So
opportunities.
many missed opportunities. And Amy, ever since about July of 2022, lending in real estate became really difficult.
Yes.
We went from this unicorn, well, no, what I called the Goldilocks economy, not too hot, not too cold, just perfect, into the unicorn, where it's with interest rates of 2.8%, and everyone went back to being order
Order
takers again.
takers.
Yep. Now we are in a time where influence is important, thinking, asking questions, primary care physician stuff, right?
Yeah.
So most people could
Sometimes
not
a
adapt.
surgeon.
Yeah, yes. Most people could not adapt. We lost 50% of the realtors. We lost 50% of the loan originators. And so the ones that have remained are very sharp, very good, had their math under control. They didn't live beyond their means, that when the money went away, the bills still stayed. Those people were wiped out too. We've got the realistic people and the smart people. So every transaction, you have to work really hard because your competitors are sharp. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you're competing with your competitors. The finest way is to decide, I helped 2 people last week. This week, I'm going to help 3. Right? Compete with yourself. Just beat last week's record as you move forward.
Yes.
Then you're not worried or intimidated by your colleagues, other lenders, and other realtors. Just focus on getting into referral-rich rooms and working that data bank like a general practitioner. Watch your world change suddenly when you realize that you're in the people business,
Yes.
not the loans business or the selling business. You've got your data, but you communicate with people. Just like when you go to a title and you say, I want a 200 home farm. No, you want, and so you get them, and don't treat them just like binary things on a page. These are people. I have a 200 family farm,
Yes.
and
These
I'm
are
going to go out and
people's
help
lives.
families. Yeah,
Every one of those addresses is someone's life.
that's right.
Someone's
That's right.
life. I mean,
That's
I
right.
look at the walls at, a home office. I'm looking at these walls. This is my life. It's not just an address.
That's exactly right. And that's why I've got to say at Elevated Lending, that both you and I have a very soft spot for. It's not just a lone number, right? They know that there's a family out there
Family.
desperate to move on with their dreams, desperate to do that. And it's our job to advance that for them, right? We walk a mile in our clients' shoes, not because we're going to live with them, but we have to live with ourselves. They will make the finest decisions for their lives because they will go and tell somebody else. And that's the referral game. That's the people
The people
relationship stuff.
people
Right?
business.
Yep.
It really comes down to that collaboration, right, Roger? We really would love to see all the loan originators out there and the real estate agents, whatever company you're with, come together and start creating these educational collaborations. So when you're with those clients, you're giving them all of the best of both at the same time, because people's time is valuable and they don't like going back and forth and back and forth. What if you came together and had, a big meeting, even if it's a conference call or a Zoom, whatever that is, it says we're going to answer these questions together and find solutions the best we can in each stage together, and not chase phone calls and texts and the other things that go along with it. Working together, and we're helping more families, more individuals, and we're empowering home ownership. We're not taking orders.
Not it. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't have said it better.
Roger, this is so fun. And I just feel such a magic when we come together and have these conversations. And I know you and I are seeing so much from the top down. And this needs to resonate to each individual of how you see your business, where you're at in your business right now. Reach out to someone. Find that mentor. Call us, call someone in your network and say, can you help me talk through this? Can you help me implement some of these things? Because we're all ready to see some of this fear in home ownership today to start dissipating. And we want to empower more families, whatever state you're living in, wherever you're trying to buy. There are solutions for you. As professionals, let's help them find it. Thank you so much for being with me again today, Roger. Thank you to all of you. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening on your favorite streaming platform, thank you for being a part of Between Escrows. A lot more to come up ahead. We'll see you next time.